wherever you're listening or watching Radio Afinju. The time is 6 p.m.
Ẹ bá mi pè o. Àfíjù. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfíjù. Rédíò. Àfíjù. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfíjù. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Àfíjù. Lórí WhatsApp. Àfíjù. Instagram. Àfíjù. Facebook. Àfíjù. Lórí X. Àfíjù. Lórí YouTube. Àfíjù. Lórí TikTok. Àfíjù. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfíjù. Ẹ bá mi pè o. Àfíjù. Rédíò. Àfíjù. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfíjù. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Àfíjù. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfíjù. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń wo Àfíjù. Rédíò Àfíjù. Rédíò Àfíjù. Rédíò Àfíjù.
This is the world news on Radio Afinju.
First, a look at the highlights. Senator praised raising Supreme Court judges to 30. India orders inspection of Boeing 787 after Air India crash. "11 dead, several still missing in San Antonio floods." Good evening and welcome to the World News on Radio Afinju. My name is Durotoye. The news in detail. The Senate is considering a legislative proposal that would increase the number of Supreme Court justices from the current 21 to 30 in a bid to tackle the mounting backlog of cases and improve the efficiency of the apex court being considered. Senate representing Imo West, Osita Izu Naso, who is sponsoring the bill, disclosed this during the press briefing in Abuja to mark his 2 years in the 10th National Assembly. He argued that the current number of justices is inadequate despite the recent appointment of 11 justices in 2023 that finally filled the constitutional quota for the first time in Nigeria's history. According to him, the proposed legislation would enable the apex court to form more panels to expedite the adjudication process. The Nigerian Police Force has extended the grace period for enforcement of the tinted glass permit requirement to August 12, 2025, following widespread feedback from the public. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun announced the extension today in a statement issued by the Force Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi, citing the need for a more citizen-friendly and accessible application process. According to the statement, the decision reflects the MPF's commitment to transparent, inclusive and citizen-focused policing and comes amid ongoing technical and policy reviews of the permit system. According to the police, the extension will give room for enhancements and refinements to both physical and digital application processes, including improved verification and reduced delays. Jeje Agba Foundation, an initiative of the renowned Islamic cleric Habib Ibrahim Alfad Jeje Agba, has launched a vocational training center in Osun State to empower millions of youths, students and unemployed in the society. The launching, which was held at the vocational center on Ekoende Road, Alfa Jeje Plaza, Ikirun, Osun State, had in attendance people from all walks of life, particularly well-wishers of the founder. Speaking at the event, the director of the center, Alfa Jeje Agba, maintained that inspiring and empowering youth and students is his watchword for setting up the academy, adding that the training center will provide students with hands-on practical learning, industry-relevant knowledge and professional certification. He advised parents of prospective students to invest in their education as it is the only legacy they can pass on to their kids. In the same vein, the guest lecturer at the event, Bashir Bello, urged students to be proactive and take their studies seriously, stressing that the training fee is meant to instill seriousness in them. Part of the hands-on skills to be learned includes furniture making, fashion designing, cosmetology, culinary services, among others. In Lagos State, the All Progressives Congress (APC) has announced that it will officially launch its campaign on Tuesday, June 17th, ahead of the July 12th local government elections. The party's publicity secretary, Sheye Oladejo, who disclosed this in a statement, said that the flag handing over ceremony would be held at the APC State Secretariat, Ogba. According to him, the APC campaign will focus on the various unprecedented landmark achievements of the outgoing governments in the councils, the numerous timely social interventions, and the promise to do more in tandem with the party's progressive philosophy. Oladejo urged all voters to endeavor to perform their civic responsibility on the day of the elections. The president of Albinism Association of Nigeria, AAN, BC Bamishe, made a call in address of welcome at an event to celebrate the International Albinism Awareness Day in Abuja, where she urged the government and stakeholders to expedite efforts to include skin screening and treatment into the National Health Insurance Scheme. The celebration with the theme IAAD 2025, Demanding Our Rights, Protect Our Skin, Preserve Our Lives, is organized by AAN. She described the theme as a powerful call for urgent action, adding that including skin screening and treatment into NHIS will go a long way to address challenges facing persons with albinism. Bamishe further noted that students with albinism are facing educational disadvantages due to visual impairment and urged relevant authorities to ensure the full implementation of the National Albinism Policy on Education with prompt and adequate provision of necessary learning aids to facilitate inclusive and quality education. About 200 persons, including 5 security personnel and internally displaced persons, IDPs, as well as children and women, have been reportedly killed in a bloody attack by suspected terrorist herdsmen on Yelewata and Daudu communities in Guma local government area of Benue State. The attack, which came days after the people of the area alleged receiving information of the impending coordinated attacks by marauders, left many others with varying degrees of injuries. The invaders stormed the Yelewata in their numbers from 2 fronts, and after overpowering the youths and the police personnel who stood up against them, opened fire on defenseless IDPs who were taking refuge in market stores and community members. Several families were killed and burnt in their houses and in the Yelewata market store, with many of the victims being children and toddlers who were slaughtered like animals. Away from Nigeria, India's aviation regulator has ordered all Boeing 787s being operated by local carriers to be inspected after an Air India crash killed 270 people this week. The aviation minister added that the authorities were investigating all possible causes. The aviation regulator ordered Air India to conduct additional maintenance checks on its Boeing 787 8/9 aircraft equipped with GenX engines, including assessments of certain takeoff parameters, electronic engine control tests, and engine fuel-related checks. It did not say whether government officials will be involved in the inspections. The Boeing BAN 7878 Dreamliner, with 242 people on board, bound for Britain's Gatwick Airport, began losing height seconds after takeoff and erupted in a fireball as it hit buildings below in what has been the world's worst aviation disaster in a decade. An Australian man was fatally shot and another Australian man injured in a shooting on the Indonesian island of Bali, according to local police. Bali police are currently hunting for 2 people believed to be involved in the shooting in a villa in the Badung Regency on the southern side of the tourism island. Identified only by their first names, Zivan R, 32 years old, died at the scene, while Sanar G, 35 years old, was seriously wounded and has been taken to intensive care at a hospital. Arya Sandi said witnesses had provided descriptions of 2 people who fled from the scene on 2 motorcycles. He also said the 2 were heard speaking English with an Australian accent. In the United Kingdom, a man suspected of murdering 2 senior figures from a Scottish organized crime group in a Spanish bar has been arrested. Media reports say Michael Riley was taken into custody in Liverpool by Merseyside police under an international arrest warrant issued by the Spanish authorities. Ross Monaghan, 43 years old, and Eddie Lyons Jr., 46-year-old, were shot dead at Monaghan's bar in Fuengirola in the Costa del Sol on 31st May. Both men were connected to the Lyons family, a major organized crime group based in the west of Scotland. The 2 men had been watching the Champions League final with friends when they were targeted at the bar on the Andalusian town's beachfront. In Europe, Pope Leo has appealed for authorities in Iran and Israel to act with reason after airstrikes between the 2 countries killed dozens and sent civilians into shelters, and called on the nations to pursue dialogue. Leo, in one of the strongest peace appeals yet of his 5-week papacy, told an audience in St. Peter's Basilica he was following the situation with great concern. Leo was elected on May 8 to replace the late Pope Francis and is the first pope from the United States. Ukrainian forces have stopped Russian troops advancing in the northeastern Sumy region and are now battling along the border to regain control, according to President Volodymyr Zelensky. In remarks released for publication by his office, Zelensky said that Moscow has amassed about 53,000 troops in the direction of Sumy. Russia's troops have been focusing their assaults in the eastern Donetsk region, but since the start of the month, they have intensified their attacks in the northeast, announcing plans to create a so-called buffer zone in the Sumy and Kharkiv regions. The Russian war in Ukraine is in its 4th year, but has intensified in recent weeks. Ukraine conducted an audacious drone attack that took out multiple aircraft inside Russia and also hit the bridge connecting Russia to the annexed Crimean Peninsula using underwater explosives. Zelensky said that the Ukrainian troops had maintained their defensive lines along more than 1,000 kilometers of the front line. He also dismissed Moscow's claims that Russian troops had crossed the administrative border of the Ukrainian central region of Dnipropetrovsk. In the Americas, at least 11 people have died and several are still missing after flash flooding hit San Antonio, Texas. The severe storm forced cars off roads, pushing some drivers into a creek, according to local news reports. The San Antonio Fire Department said the rescuers were searching for at least 4 people missing in the floods. Officials said the death toll may change and their search and recovery efforts will take days. The fire department has deployed K9 units and asked for additional assistance from a statewide urban search and rescue force. Officials performed more than 70 water rescues as of Friday afternoon, according to the city's website. At least 4 of those who were rescued were taken to hospitals with minor injuries. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer flies to Canada to meet Mark Carney, the former governor of the Bank of England, who became his country's Prime Minister in March. The two men will get together in the Canadian capital, Ottawa, this evening ahead of the G7 summit hosted by Carney, which begins in the province of Alberta on Sunday. It will be the first face-to-face gathering of world leaders since Israel's strikes on Iran. The talks between the two prime ministers this evening will focus on security and trade. Carney's office said the aim was to strengthen the long-standing economic and security partnership between the two nations. Negotiations between the UK and Canada on a trade agreement broke down early last year before the British general election after a dispute over beef and cheese. In the Middle East, Iran has warned the United States, UK and France that their military bases and ships will be targeted if they help block the Iranian missile and drone retaliation for Israel's attack, threatening to widen an already bloody war over Tehran's nuclear program. Donald Trump has said the United States will help defend Israel, and American officials have been quoted in news reports saying that U.S. forces have already helped shoot down Iranian drones and missiles as they approached Israel. France's President Emmanuel Macron also said that his country would help defend Israel against Iranian reprisals. The UK government has said its forces had not provided any military assistance to Israel, as the Prime Minister Keir Starmer has emphasized the need for de-escalation. Still in the Middle East, Israeli fire and airstrikes killed at least 23 Palestinians across the Gaza Strip, most of them near an aid distribution site operated by the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Medics at Al-Auda and Al-Aqsa hospitals in central Gaza areas, where most of the casualties were moved to, said at least 15 people were killed as they tried to approach the GHF aid distribution site near the Netzarim corridor. The rest were killed in separate attacks across the enclave. There has been no immediate comment by the Israeli military or the GHF on today's incidents. The GHF began distributing food packages in Gaza at the end of May, overseeing a new model of aid distribution which the United Nations says is neither impartial nor neutral. The Gaza Health Ministry said in a statement at least 274 people have so far been killed and more than 2,000 wounded near aid distribution sites since the GHF began operations in Gaza. Now talking sports. Emma Raducanu will miss next week's Berlin Tennis Open as she continues to manage a back problem. The 22-year-old has been struggling with the issue since competing in Strasbourg last month before the French Open and took an off-court medical timeout, though in a quarter-final loss to Qinwen Zheng at Queen's Club on Friday. Speaking afterwards, Raducanu said it's been lingering for the last few weeks and she has had back issues before. She thinks it's just a vulnerability and she needs to take good care of it. Raducanu had elected to play in the German capital rather than Nottingham after being offered a wild card into the WTA 500 event, which is set to feature 9 of the world's top 10. Before we go, here again are the highlights. The Senate is considering a legislative proposal that would increase the number of Supreme Court justices from the current 21 to 30 in a bid to tackle the mounting backlog of cases and improve the efficiency of the apex courts. Elsewhere, India's aviation regulator has ordered all Boeing 787s being operated by local carriers to be inspected after an Air India crash killed 270 people this week. The aviation minister added that the authorities were investigating all possible causes. And in the Americas, at least 11 people have died and several are still missing after flash flooding hit San Antonio in Texas. That was the world news on Radio Afinju. To view our channel, please follow Radio Afinju on Facebook, X and YouTube. My name is Durotoye. Thanks for listening. Good evening.
That was